Hey wrestling figure fans, welcome to the alternate action figure podcast. We all remember and love dearly wrestling figures by Hasbro, and we remember, unfortunately, when the WWF and Hasbro parted ways in the mid-90s. But what if that relationship never ended? What if Hasbro kept making WWF figures? Join Pablo, Fox and Joe as they deep dive, debate and collectively decide on which WWF superstars would have and should have been immortalised in Hasbro figure form. This is the alternate action figure podcast.
Right. Hello everybody and welcome to the alternate action figure podcast brought to you by ccppodcasting.com. Rumours of my demise have been highly exaggerated. It was rumoured that I had been castigated, nay, crucifixed for my choice of using Skinner mechanisms for the headbangers. It is not true. Whilst I was castigated, like the Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ, I rose from the grave. He wasn't in a grave, but he rose. He is now back. I'm not saying that we are better than Jesus, but we certainly make a better action figure podcast than Jesus Christ. I am Pablo, and with me are two of the finest action figure designers in the world. We have, from Inside the Ropes magazine, we have Grapple Arcades, Mark Fox, and we also have the wonderful and handsome Joe. Hello, how are you doing?
Thank you. I like being called handsome this early in the morning.
Well, I'm not Pablo Chris today. I'm just Chris.
Chris is joining us. Chris is joining us in the show full time now.
Yeah.
As our on the spot researcher. You know, he's going to be typing away there, finding facts and figures.
And
figures literally.
Can
figures.
I had so much fun on air last.
Yeah, I gotta say this though, because I think we gave Pablo a bad rap on the Skinner mold, because in the chat,
I didn't call him that many names.
It literally did say so they could do the dance, and I forgot to read that part off, and I think that would have made a lot more sense. So Pablo, from me to you, I sincerely apologize for not reading and not being fundamental.
It made all the fucking difference. It made, you know.
It did, but I'm still against it.
Yeah.
Sorry to tell you.
No, that's okay. As long as you're against it, once you know all the facts is the problem.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
That is true.
I did that.
In my defense, I purposely tried not to read what you sent because I didn't want to hear your picks.
No, right. I thought you were just like purposely ignoring. Okay, that's okay. As you can tell, these sunglasses are going to become a pain. Okay. Yes. So anyway. So this show, we're covering what we think may have been released by Hasbro in late 1997. That's July to December 1997. But just to run through all the previous series very quickly. So we started at Series 13 because obviously the orange card would have been Series 12. And Series 13 was early 1995, January to June. And we had Aldo Montoya, Owen Hart, Man Mountain Rock, King Kong Bundy, The Undertaker, and everyone's favorite Sparky Plug, Bob Holly. Series 14, and they would have been in a light blue box. Now, Series 14 would have been in a purple box, and that would have been, I'm going to take these off, that would have been July to December 1995, and that would have been Dean Douglas, the Roadie, the British Bulldog, Skip, Alundra Blaze, and Aja Kong, which may be my favourite set of the bunch so far. Yeah. Series 15, in lime green, would have been early 1996, and that would have been Vader, Jim Cornette, Steve Austin, Mark Merrow, Goldust, The Ultimate Warrior, and Jake the Snake Roberts. And Series 16, in a lovely peachy kind of box, would have been, is Ahmed Johnson, Rocky Maivia, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Savio Vega, The Executioner, and Mankind. Now, Series 17, the episode that I was locked inside of a cave, not allowed to explain why I was Skinner mechanisms for the headbangers. That series was in a grey box, and that was Sid, Jerry the King Lawler, British Bulldog Farouk, Animal, and with our special guest Harry Slash, the music maker of ECW, he chose a bonus figure of Sabu. So now we are venturing into a very interesting time period of late 1997. And any initial thoughts amongst the panel?
Well. I thought going back to the last series, I thought that was an interesting set because it was the first, for me, kind of time where we allowed a bit of a mix-up with who was allowed in the series, in the sense of getting Harry to pick theoretically a non-contracted WWF wrestler in the form of Sabu, and we changed the wording ever so slightly to from now on, people can suggest names who are either contracted with the WWF or appeared on WWF television. So
yeah,
I think it was a great choice by Harry. It was lovely having him on the show chatting about not only
very
his
cool.
time ECW and how he knew the guys backstage and who he knows and hangs with and what have you, and his music, obviously. Meeting for the very first time Mr. Paul Heyman in some toilets, as you do. And yeah, I think Sabu was a great choice. What surprised me, though, I thought, thinking about, like, looking back, once I was chatting with Harry, I think I said I wouldn't be surprised, Harry, if there's going to be several ECW guys picked, but he happened to be, Sabu was the only one picked. Now, I think it was just one of those things where it's a sign that the roster that we've got to choose from is heading towards a lot more top end stars, so to speak. I'm not saying that series that we picked there were all top end, but there was a lot of legitimate reasons for why we were picking those.
There's a lot of needed people. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
The circumstances surrounding them, rather than just because they've got cool lime green trousers or whatever it might be. You know, they've got like there's particular reasons, whether it's title chasing, whether it's whatever it might be, whether it's specific opponents that they had on big events, etc., etc. And I think we're heading into that era now. Sorry, I was going to say heading into that era now, like late '97. This is going to be very interesting. Without giving picks away early on, this is going to be very interesting in the sense of, I think we're going to head a lot more into being torn about how we can justify not picking main eventers and upper mid carders. It's going to be difficult to pick mid carders and lower mids, even though I might really want to. How I can justify those selections if I'm looking through the perspective of Hasbro and WWF. Pablo's laughing his head off there, knowing fine well he's picked fucking
Max Mini. Chosen the entire midget roster. You know, yeah.
shitload of Mexican one-off performances and things like that.
I did want to pick Mini Mankind last episode, and I couldn't do it. So yeah,
there's so many that I'd love to pick from the AAA partnership, if you like, on that last episode. Like I was
did you? Sorry, go on.
So difficult. I was good. Like Pantera, I really wanted to pick Pantera.
Yeah.
It's just like, but he wrestled twice or something, you know. But I thought, but it fits them all. It's it's getting so difficult to narrow down now.
This is true. Because I'm assuming you collected BCAs pretty early on, or did you drop out? Okay, right. So did you get the mini rings with the 6 figures?
Oh,
the Rumble and the WrestleMania. See,
I love them.
I use those as my mini tag team partners to go with the Hasbros.
Oh, that's fantastic. I never thought about doing that. That's a great idea. Yeah, I loved those little mini sets. I wish I still had them. I have like a couple random figures, but no, I'm sure Mark has them. You probably both have them, actually.
I've got absolutely shitloads. I'll send you a couple. You can do some scans and stuff and print off the body mold, so then you can. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Sorry, we won't get.
It's all good. There's lots of options to make mini figures.
Kind of there.
Yeah. There you go.
Anyway.
Yeah, so to go off of you guys' points, though, specifically, Mark, what you were saying about how it's getting really, like, we really got to narrow things down here. The next couple episodes, I feel like, are going to be this way. This one in the 1998, where we essentially are picking between the two halves of the year. We're picking 12 figures for the whole year. And if you think about how crazy the roster was in 97 and 98, I picked my picks like a week ago for this one, And then last night I watched, I know it's outside of the time period, but I watched King of the Ring 97 and then SummerSlam 97 last night and sat there redoing a bunch of my picks. Just like, because it got my mind jogging. And there's still a couple of missions on my list that I'm like, they're kind of criminal. But
we maybe need to have a serious discussion then after this for 1998 onwards. Do we expand the 6 choices to maybe 8 choices? Something like that. I don't know. Or do we keep it very difficult for ourselves?
Well, so I have, we haven't really announced it yet, but 99 is going to be formatted a little different, right? Do you guys remember that? So
somewhat.
It is going to be, rather than early and late 99, it's going to be Q1 99, Q2 99, 3 and 4. So essentially it's doubling our picks for all of 1999. But that's not a bad idea for 98. Maybe it's 8 picks. Maybe we extend that series. WWF's doing a little better at the time. They throw a little bit more money at the figure.
I'm going to stir the pot and say, man, if you give more picks, the final debate will not be as fighting it out than it would be if
it's possible. But,
it just means that not everything has to be Austin and Taker or whatever, you know. Basically, because I mean, I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, but not every single, depending on who you pick out the main event, you're not necessarily going to see them again in the next series. Depending on circumstances at the time with that particular wrestler, because people turn, they change their attire, there might be a reason to pick them, as we know. I mean, Hasbro, WWF and Hasbro, early 90s, I mean, they were knocking out Hogan's pretty much every series as well for the first,
And series 1 was years. What? I don't have my list in front of me. What, 9 guys, 10 guys, something like that?
This is the other thing. That's it. We don't have to stick rigid to say. I think we stuck rigid picks because of how the green card series felt, and it made sense because of the 3 of us choosing a couple of names each that get through that, that kind of format. It made sense. But I think now we're heading into that much wider roster, if you like, the scope of the roster potentially. And just as you've quite rightly said, WWF's doing a lot better in terms of what they're doing on TV. A lot of people are tuning in. They're making record-breaking profits, since the golden era. So it's kind of like they would invest.
Butts in seats.
Yeah. And again, it's not trying to be future visionary kind of thing. If we just for a moment step back and think about what they ended up doing with Jax and where they went with that, especially in '99, when a lot of interest in this stuff they started doing with technology with the figures and how many lines they end up having and things. I think it wouldn't be out of the question in '98 we expand a little bit to show the growth that's going on in real time. And the fandom that's going on in real time, and it just gives us that little bit of extra. It gives us an extra name or two to play with. It doesn't have to be main event or upper mid card. We're allowed to dip into a bit more and not feel kind of this wouldn't happen business wise, because as we know with, again, not trying to be looking into the future, as we know with Jax, they weren't shy to dip into some bringing out signature series lines with Jacqueline and stuff like that, and they brought out 4-packs with Marlena and whoever else. They were dipping into names that weren't necessarily main eventers, but they were knocking out thousands of figures a month at the same time. So
it's true.
Gives us a little bit of freedom. Gives us that little bit of freedom. But sorry, Pablo, you're hosting this, and as per usual, I just won't shut your massive trap.
Not at all. Okay, so let's go into my picks first then. So I have at random picked September and December of 1997. Now, when you think of how quickly things were moving in late 1997, September and December seem like almost like 2 different versions of WWF, considering who had left and who had come in and stuff like that. So, now, my September choices. So, firstly, I'm going to go with the wild card last. So, firstly, I'm going to choose someone who I think would be appreciated in the Hasbro world in this ring attire. And I think has probably more than most had customs done of them since then, because they never made them. Would be Jim the Anvil Neidhart in his Hart Foundation gear. Now I would go with the now he's wearing a singlet, so for me singlet would be painted on. But he would have Bam Bam Bigelow lower legs for the figure legs. But it would be the same upper torso that he had originally. And obviously the same head as well, but painted better by that point. Because I think he had like no pupils or whatever it was. It was pretty plain. Now I don't feel that that would need accessories at that point. Because I think just a Neidhart in some kind of singlet would be very much appreciated by, especially the old school Hasbro fans as well. And it's one of those things that you need them to complete your Hard Foundation lineup. I don't think there's been a lineup of figures since the time where we've had every single member of the Hart. Like BCA's never did Neidhart. Classic Superstars never did Owen Hart. It's that kind of thing. So, I'm going with Neidhart first. In that vein, my second choice would be Brian Pillman in ring gear. Now he would come with removable vest, but because I tried to think of kind of skinny, ripped torso, and there wasn't really anything that fit the bill. I don't think so. I'm kind of going to go with a Rick Martel body for this because I think it's the perfect generic sort of body that gets used like a million times, and it gets used because it works. Even if the upper torso is slightly bulky or whatever. But yeah, I would go with Brian Pillman in his ring gear, a la Ground Zero, SummerSlam, and with a very angry, gritted teeth kind of face. And yeah, and then third, sticking with sort of the Ground Zero time, and I immediately thought of this, and this is a bit of left field, but Scott Putski. So he, in my opinion, is what Vince McMahon thought the perfect light heavyweight would have been. He was built, he was jacked, he was good looking, he was the son of a Hall of Famer, and I think if he didn't tear his knee, I'm sure you remember it when his knee basically ended up where his thigh was, because Brian Christopher did a plancha and he buckled on his knee and it was horrendous. It didn't happen for him in the WWF after that, and it's a shame because I think it's someone that they would have got behind and who could have caught on as well.
Part of me wonders. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I was going to say with the likes of Putski. Part of me wonders if they would have bothered with the likes of Angle, for example. He was that kind of like. I know he wasn't exactly that kind of thing, but I think I have to agree with you in the sense that I think they would have got behind him, even though that never happened for the reasons that you've said. I think he could have been somebody that they would have tried.
I do remember them kind of framing him as being like a next big like star,
What I'm pulling up on Putski right now is that September 7th, 1997, Ground Zero, that he had a match with Brian Christopher, but was it ended because of an injury, and I think he was not too long for the world after that before he went over to WCW. So that's a piece of why, but I do like the name Putski being thrown out there because I always think about Polish Power, and obviously with that being his son, it's like it's an homage and a throwback to someone who built basically professional wrestling to a degree.
Yeah, and I always loved the tag match that him and Ivan had on Raw against Jerry Lawler and Brian Christopher. It would have been very much Vince's idea of what a light heavyweight division would have been, just big built American dudes. I don't think Taka would have stood much of a chance. To be honest, I think Scott Putski could have won the tournament. So Scott Putski and the perfect torso from neck to foot would be Texas Tornado, because he's jacked, he's got the tassels on the boots, he's got the knee pads, and it is like the easiest figure to make. And especially with the colourful ring gear as well, as long as the colours were right and they didn't try and darken it or whatever, it would really pop on the shelves. And I think they would see it as like an investment in the future sort of thing with someone like Scott Putski, that they would definitely get behind. But I think at that, yeah.
I'm just going to say, without dropping any obvious names, you and Joe are both in positions to maybe bring said figure to life. We'll leave it at that. If you
right,
catch
okay.
my drift.
Well, we'll leave it at that. So so let's skip to December 97.
I was going to say I don't think he's making it through, but we'll see.
No, I mean in real life, but you'll see what I mean later on. We'll chat later.
Oh,
yeah, we'll leave that there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now I understand.
Okay, so
yes,
December 1997. My first choice would be someone who made his first match back in December 97, but had a hell of a build-up as he burps before coming back. And that was Jeff Jarrett in his white, blue, and orange singlet. It makes, again, no pun intended, but perfect sense to just use the Mr. Perfect also at this point. It's ideal for Jarrett, and all you need is the new head. And I think, again, colours-wise and stuff like that, and with the build-up that they gave him before his first match back with The Undertaker, I think it's just an ideal. You would have to make a new head for him with the ponytail. So did Jarrett get through in the previous set?
I was just thinking that, but he was an orange.
He's in Series 12. Yeah, so you would have to.
Yeah.
You would have to do it from scratch.
He's a completely different character essentially at this stage.
Yeah, but he is coming off a year of high-profile WCW television as well, so it's not like they're just, squeezing him out, and then no one knows who he is. So that would be my first choice for December. Second choice would be Brian Christopher in his orange gear that he wore at In Your House DX, and again, it would be a very simple Rick Martel body. Because again, bulkier, light heavyweight, and I just think it would work for that. And he would have a removable waistcoat as well.
Which mold, sorry?
It's Rick Martel. The Rick Martel. Again, just very simple, but again with a color that'd pop, and someone who's on TV a lot at this point, and especially since Jerry Lawler's already out, and you can do stuff with them. So my third choice would be someone who had a character transition in 1997. No irony intended here, but one of my favorite gimmicks of all time is Kurgan.
Brilliant.
So he changed from the Interrogator into Kurgan at this point on episodes of Shotgun Saturday Night, and he became. In some of the early matches as Kurgan against jobbers, you'd have the paralyzer on his opponent, and then Jackal would come in and slap him, which he would do later on as well. But Kurgan would go into this really badly acted maniacal laugh, and I think they were like, "No, we'll cut that out." But so I love Kurgan, and again, he's you would think. I don't think he's going to be winning any titles, but especially when you've got Kane as the big monster and stuff like that. But he's just someone who. I don't know. I can just see Vince getting behind, or at the very least Vince Russo, who had a lot of pull at that time, and writing for stuff for the oddities when they would come in later, and for the Jackal and stuff like that. So Kurgan, again, very, very, very simple repaint, would be using the Sid body. So it's gorilla press hands, but it's an open claw hand for the paralyzer, so it's perfect. And just the black trunks, black boots, with the black tips on his fingers, and kind of like the BC-8, you would have the big open mouth, the kind of maniacal sort of scream sort of thing. So that would be my 6 for 1997, September and December. So,
here's what I got.
Before we go over to one.
Here's what I got real quick. I'm just going to chime in with some facts here. So I want to talk a little bit about your first pick from 97 was Jim Neidhart, just for context purposes. He was on Raw on September 8th as an enforcer for Bret Hart in a championship match versus The Undertaker. He was at One Night Only, again, kind of as a ringside enforcer. He returned to the ring during a post-match brawl with Bret and Goldust on the 22nd. And then with Bret and Owen, he interfered in the Bulldogs and Bret Hart's, along with Owen, with the Bulldog and Bret Hart's flag match against Vader and the Patriot. So he had a pretty solid, 4-week 97 in the month of September. And Pillman, same kind of similar situation. Ground Zero defeated Goldust in that stipulation match that the winner would get Marlena for 30 days. Raw is War the next night. He wrestled Dude Love to a no contest in an Intercontinental Championship quarterfinal match. And then Pillman eventually lost to Owen via DQ in a semifinal match after Goldust interfered. And in December with Jeff Jarrett, this dude had a rocking December of 97 when he came back. He came back at In Your House, he beat The Undertaker. He, on the 8th of December, he beat Vader via countout. On the 13th, he and Lawler defeated Billy and the Road Dogg via disqualification. What is this? What else do we got here? And he beat Barry Windham on the 30th.
He just beat a bunch of jobbers.
Well,
really.
I mean, Barry Windham's no jobber. Come on now.
No. I was talking more about the Undertaker.
Brian Christopher, I like that pick because in December, that was when they were building the light heavyweight division. And there was a lot of light heavyweight action going on. Like everything that he did in December, for the most part, that I'm seeing is all pretty much building up to the light heavyweight stuff or continuing on. Taka Michinoku beat him at the DX pay-per-view. He beat Scott Taylor to get there. And let's see, Christopher and Aguila defeated Flash Flanagan and Taka on the 6th. And Barry Houston, he beat him on the 20th. With Kurgan, that's another interesting one. Kurgan lost to Flash Funk via DQ on the 8th because he wouldn't release the claw. He wouldn't release the submission hold. Then, interesting fun fact.
Why would he?
Kurgan defeats the Hardy Boys in a handicap match. Hardy Boys go on to become one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Here's Kurgan beating them straight up. And then he lost to 8 Ball after some interference on the 22nd. But
the fall from grace.
There's you some facts a little bit about the picks, and you guys go ahead and go from there. And I'm just gonna look this stuff up as you guys are naming them. So when you finish your picks, I'll come right in.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Have the deal. Go right ahead.
Thanks, man.
Awesome.
Well, before we go to next picks by the wonderfully ticklish Mark Fox, let's go to our first break.
Rock and Roll Collectibles is the UK's leading independent nostalgia-filled merchandise store. So if it's exclusive wrestling figures, trading cards and Funko Pops, or music, pop culture, or horror-themed treasures that you're after, make the trip to their Birmingham-based store or head to www.rockandrollcollectibles.com.
Welcome back to the Alternate Action Figure Podcast, brought to you by ccppodcasting.com. I am Pablo, and I'm now going to pass it over to the wonderfully hairy Mark Fox with his picks for late 1997. What months did you pick, Mark?
Well, I'm glad you've asked. I went with. I was forced to take on July 97 and November 97. Which we'll get into straight away, actually. So the first name I'm going to bring up, who featured for me in an iconic interview in July 1997, was somebody that's already been mentioned actually by yourself, Pablo, Mr. Brian Pillman. He came out and on I think it was July 12th, and it was on an episode of Shotgun Saturday Night. He was being interviewed by Vince McMahon in the ring. And it was in preparation for his match, which happens the month later at a pay-per-view that didn't fall in my months, being SummerSlam. But focused on the interview in particular, the reason why I specifically chose this character for July and the episode of Shotgun Saturday Night where he was interviewed by Vince McMahon is because he came out in my favorite wrestling t-shirt of all time, especially, which is a t-shirt I own, which will be shown on screen quite soon if it's not already there right now. It's the t-shirt that was also owned by Mikey Whipwreck in ECW, and it's the screaming head with the eye popping out and the colours, and it's one of the best t-shirts that's ever existed.
Great
and
shirt.
I've worn it. It's so good, and I've worn it quite a lot on stage as well. So honestly, I'm a massive fan of that shirt. I love it so much. My wife absolutely hates it with a passion, But there's certain times where I could really do with just being left alone. I'll just put that T-shirt on. So Shotgun Saturday Night. Mr. Pillman was interviewed by Vince, and he came down and he basically was hyping up the match with Goldust that he was going to have at SummerSlam. I went with the slightly different options to Pablo in terms of how he looks and what he's going to be, because I want him to wear that T-shirt, weirdly. Because I just think it's very toyetic, and I know it's quite in depth, and he maybe probably wouldn't have gone with that T-shirt if they made him in a Hasbro form. Maybe, I don't know, but I would opt for him to have worn that painted on, not like a fabric thing or anything like that. But he would have a molded on vest as well over the top of it, like the Razor molded on vest. But I would have given him Jake Roberts mold for the kind of more skinnier, slimmer mold, because I was thinking of Martel as well. But I just think that the Roberts mold at the time was maybe a little bit more like heavyweighty kind of, in stature, if that makes sense.
I was going back and forth on it. Yeah, it was a hard choice. Yeah.
Yeah. However, what I am willing to say is that I wouldn't mind either of those molds if he was to get through to the final, which we'll discuss later on. And we can maybe discuss between us if he gets to that stage.
Did you say molded on vest for yours? Sorry.
Who, Pablo?
No, you.
Oh, I said molded on. Yeah, molded on vest.
Yeah, okay.
I would have him as in the Razor vest.
Oh, that's what you said.
I think there are certain things that would be removable with like capes and coats and things like that, maybe hats at some point, but I don't necessarily think that, because we haven't got there yet in the real Hasbro line to this point. I think they'd maybe sort of just anything that they've already made molded, they probably would keep some of that stuff just as a kind of cost-cutting measure, maybe, whereas make other things a bit less, make other things as accessories, if you like, rather than certain things. However, it does scrap the accessory I was going to put with them, because I can't suggest the accessory I was going to suggest for Pillman, because I don't have the month that I was hoping to get in the following month.
Just sit tight. Sit tight.
We'll sit tight. Okay. That was Brian Pillman. I think the main point of linking to that as well is something that Pablo brought up, is that we've already, if you think in our previous episodes, we've already got an Owen Hart in heel mode. We've already got a Bulldog in current short hair heel mode. A couple of us have suggested Brian Pillman now. Pablo suggested Anvil. I'm going to suggest Bret Hart.
For those listening on Spotify, you're missing out.
Yeah, Bret Hart. We're in Hitman shades for those with visual barriers. So I've suggested him previously, Bret Hart, and he never got through. He wasn't picked, and I think that we're building up to a point where, specifically with my pick right now, where it's kind of make or break time, is my argument. It literally is make or break time if he's going to get through.
Yeah.
And you're not even looking into the future.
I'm not looking at the future. This is literally in the month that we're talking about.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a figure since Series 8. And when you consider he's been on top for a chunk of that time, he hasn't had a figure since Series 8 of the Hasbro line. Mentioned that we'd put out Owen. Owen was in Series 13, by the way, that we put out. So he was somewhere, midway through the picks that we've picked so far. And Davey Boy was announced in the last series, Series 17. But thankfully,
he's actually been in 2.
He has, yeah. We've had him in Space Davey since we've started.
Yeah.
This is Brett's first, well, not his first selection, but the first time. It's at a stage where we need to make a decision, really. I'm gonna put him with, because of what's happened previously, and at this stage, he's the champion in start of November. He's still world champion, right? So, although he didn't win the belt during one of my months, he is the champion going into this match at Survivor Series. Now, let's cut straight to the chase. It's the Montreal screw job, right?
We won't get into all of that.
No, we won't get into all. It's the Montreal screw job, right? It's the Montreal screw job. There's a lot that can be said about this, but the only thing that really makes sense saying about this right now is that at the end of this, by the end of November, which is my month that I'm choosing from, we know that Brett is no longer there. So it's not looking into the future. It's a case of looking back at your month that you've got, which was November, and we know that he's left because of Survivor Series. So this is legitimately the last opportunity we've got to add Brett to the line if we want him in the line. No pressure, lads, but just pointing it out and putting it out there that's the situation. He'd be in his Survivor Series attire, which is predominantly black, with the pink trims and stuff like this. Black vest, black tights, but with pink trims, which he's never had in Hasbro figure form either. So we're not kind of replicating something he's already worn. It's a new attire for Brett. And I'm legitimately just going to go with exactly the same figure. I'm going to go with his Bret Hart figure that he's had since day one. He's on top. He's got a big figure to look like King Bollocks. You know, he's got a really cool thing. Don't fix what's not what's not broken. Realistically, I think it kind of works for him. I was contemplating maybe remolding the head, doing something a bit different with the head. I'm not 100% sure on what that would be right now because I don't know. I don't think he'd have removable glasses. I just don't think we're there in Hasbro world. But I want him to wear his glasses. And then if that's the case, is there any point in sort of changing the head when he's already got a bit of a scowl on his Hasbro face that it is, weirdly. And it's kind of, that's where we are with Brett at the moment. He's a heel, right? Even though we're in Canada. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to go. I'm going to say Bret Hart, and he comes with the title. That's what I'm going to suggest for Brett. Okay, moving on quickly. I'm going to go with, as my third choice, which is another November pick, I'm going with Kane. Now, we know Kane debuted previous month, and the aura around Kane at the moment is absolutely huge. He is the new big monster. He is top bollocks, top of the charts, top of the world. And we can't, he means business, put it that way. He's not just, he's not there for a cup of tea from what we can tell at the moment. They've got a lot of interest in making sure that he's going to be on top in the way that they've presented him so far. He's, you mentioned earlier about Kurgan, Pablo, being this kind of monster guy, and sort of Chris, he goes against 2-on-1 and things like that because they're pushing him as a monster. But quite rightly so, I think Kane is the monster, that the new monster toy that they've got now to play with. I think
toyetic as hell too.
Hugely toyetic. Strike while the iron's hot, and I think that's what they would probably do. And at this time they're about to release somebody, why not go with an absolute gargantuan big main new super guy as well?
Bear in mind they started talking about him in like May.
Yeah,
so
there's been a build up.
They've had a good build up. So it's like a movie coming out. You've got your toy ready, that sort of thing. Bring it out as soon as it's
good point.
Yeah.
Legitimately hotter than Hellfire and Brimstone, really, and he's there. He's ready. I would give him. It'd be obviously in his debut-esque attire, the obvious red and black, that we all know. My favorite of all of Kane's attires, to be quite honest, was his original
one arm, right?
Attire.
The one arm, one arm bear, and
the absolutely,
right? Yeah. Just making sure.
No, 100%. I'm gonna give him the Undertaker exact pose because it makes sense with what he's doing. Is the Undertaker? He can do the choke slam. He's big guy. The kind of pose feels right enough for him, and the Undertaker Hasbro. I think it works well for the Undertaker. I don't think it was never a figure that I thought this should be different. So I'm going to go for essentially the same attire. Obviously, different trims on the arms, and the arms would be different because of the trims, and the boot flaps, whatever you want to call them, wouldn't exist. But it would just be essentially a slightly rejigged version of the Undertaker figure. With Kane, and obviously no collar or anything like that would go around. Kane's attire it's almost like a sort of turtleneck, isn't it? Said, but not quite. So the Kane would be my choice, my third choice. I think that is so far. Fourth choice, I'm going to go with Kenny Shamrock. Big Kenny Shamrock, who I think has he been suggested previously but didn't get through.
He was
suggested by Chris Pablo last time.
Well, I'm going to go with them for this choice because clearly the vision, again, it's based on the vision that I perceive that creative has got for him at the moment. And they're pushing him to be a bit of a top dog. I can't see him at the moment. I don't mean in the sense of he's challenging for the world title, but he's clearly the upper mid based on the fact that they penciled him in to be the sole survivor at Survivor Series, defeating Nation of Domination when he teamed with Ahmed and LOD. But the fact that he overcame the Nation, he beat Rock, or Rocky still at this moment in time, I think the kind of angling it for him to be a bit of a big shot. That's how it feels. Again, not trying to look into the future or anything, purely based on the fact of what we're seeing from him right now at this moment in time. One thing I wanted to ask though before I get into attire. So, are we allowed to pick an attire that wasn't in our month? Or does it have to have been in our month? Or does it kind of be like in the 6 months that we're playing with overall? I can't remember what we decided on that.
My understanding was it had to be in the month.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have worn it before then, but he had to have worn it that month as well.
Okay.
I'll tell you, one of my picks, I'm a little loose with the attire.
In terms of coloration. I'd need to do. I haven't recently. The only thing that let me down is because of the obvious faux pas made with the months that I had that we haven't announced publicly. So, the color of the attire would have been based on the month that I didn't get, if you catch my drift. So, but I'm going to assume
similar. He didn't really.
I'm going to assume that in July and November he wore the red trunks.
He did by November. I think in July.
In Survivor Series, he was wearing black trunks. It's all right. Survivor Series, he's wearing the black trunks, and I'd have opted for the red trunks.
He was wearing black at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Okay, so originally he didn't
have a Raw or something that's in red.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
he wore it a lot.
I'd have to double check.
So
originally it was red without the shamrock letters across the front.
That's right. Yeah.
Then he wore
the shamrocks. At the moment, it's literally just red trunks, plain red trunks. This is the attire that I'd like to pick if I can. Red trunks. Yeah. He's got red kick pads and red boots, but with slight black. You know, the soles of the boots, if you like, you want to call them that. They've got a black trim on them, but the knee pads are black with a red trim.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So that's what he wore in August. But
did he not wear it in November? Did he not wear it at Survivor Series? I mean, Google's telling me he wore his famous red trunks in November of '97. Specifically, wore them November 9th at the WWF Survivor Series, where he captained the team against the Nation.
I thought he wore them at Survivor Series.
Captained the team.
I thought it was black. Okay.
He wore the blue.
He wore his blue trunks
when
he had the title shot.
He wore his blue trunks in '97. Right. So this is saying he wore his red trunks at Survivor Series.
Cool. Well then, color me red. Let's go for the red ones as I wanted to then, because I think that's probably the way to go. I think it's the impact of the red as well. Just strikes me for Shamrock as the cool color. Yeah. I mean, I like these blue stuff as well later time, but the red stuff, that early red stuff, I thought was really cool. Again, before we had the letters on the trunks and things like that. So based on that, red trunks. So it's red trunks, red kick pads, red boots, black trim around the bottom of the boots, black knee pads, but with a red trim around the knee pads. So I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to actually go for Virgil's mold, as in the it's like the sort of heftier version of Jake, if you know what I'm getting at. You know, Virgil's mold. But I'm going to go for Mr. Perfect's arms. So it's Virgil's sort of tall upper and legs. So he's got a slightly wide stance. So he does the famous like a kind of, you know, when he's losing his mind kind of thing, and he goes a bit raged. He's got his legs are slightly wide set because he's quite partial to martial arts kicks and things like that as well. So I wanted to kind of keep that in mind with the legs to some extent. But I want to give him Perfect's arms, because I think the Perfect mold is perfect. Shock horror as a suplex kind of mold. I think it's great for that kind of suplex mold, but also it's great for the ankle lock Especially the wider set, the DDT arm, as I always call it. It's great for the ankle lock. So that's what I'm going to say for Ken Shamrock anyway.
So one thing I just noticed, you also had July, right?
Yeah.
So he for sure, I'm looking at photos right now of Canadian Stampede. He wore the red gear.
Cool.
There.
Awesome.
So
that works a treat then. As listeners can probably work out now, I completely faux pas with with my month picks, and I thought I had SummerSlam for some stupid reason, but it was actually it was obviously in August, and for whatever reason I thought it was July. But either way, I've got July and November to go with, so I haven't got SummerSlam. Right, from Ken Shamrock, I'm gonna jump down very quickly to Mr. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Is my, I believe, 5th choice now. So Steve's the obvious big name fan favorite kind of guy at the moment. He's he's on top without being on top kind of thing. I think it's fair to say. He's not in the title picture as of end of November, based on what's happening at the moment, but he's essentially there, in my eyes, in the fans' eyes, and I'm sure the way that things are going with creative, he's kind of on top. Even though we're in Canada and he's going against a beloved Canadian, the fans absolutely pop from coming out, which is not usually the case. There's Austin signs across the entirety of the crowd, even though, again, in Survivor Series here, he's going against Owen. Now, he obviously had a previous encounter with Owen a couple of months prior, had his neck broken. So this is pretty much the retribution tour and the getting me Owen back tour for what happened. I think he wins the IC title as well, doesn't he?
Yes,
Survivor
he does.
Series. So I'm chucking the strap on him as well as an accessory, because any opportunity that I get to chuck another belt, it's turning into WCW Galoobs, isn't it? Where you got a belt with everyone. A Big Josh comes with the heavyweight title. Taka Michinoku comes with the heavyweight title. Yeah. But I think these are a bit more legit. So he's going to come with the IC belt because he beats Owen for the title. I'm going to go with. I've gone for a slightly modified Macho King mold. In the sense of he's kind of, the Macho King, he's like a clothesline and he's got one arm that kind of loops down a little bit. But I'm swapping the looping down arm, if you like, not the clothesline arm. I'm swapping that for the Mr. Perfect hook arm. Again, I'm using quite a few Mr. Perfect things here for the stunner. And I just think at this stage, given the broken neck, I think it's possibly somewhat evident in this match. He's having to slow down a little bit, so he's not zipping around as much, but he's putting on a bloody good show still. You know what I mean? He's putting on a fantastic wrestling match. He's just not like sprightly Steve Austin from a year ago when he was a lot faster and a lot more agile. It's not that he's not putting the effort in, though. So I think the Macho King kind of mold works for him in that respect. Excuse me. But also, what I want on the clothesline arm, the Macho King clothesline arm, is that his wrist rotates that way, and he can do the middle finger.
No way.
So I want him to have, I want him to have the middle finger sticking out, a bit like Hacksaw's got the thumb up, in an earlier series of Hasbro line. Austin's got his thumb, he's got his middle finger up, and you can turn the wrist round. It's an articulated point, and I think that. At this stage in WWF, where they're allowing a lot of swearing, they're allowing a lot more going on TV, we might start to see a little bit more of that kind of stuff as well in our merchandise that they're bringing out. They've got T-shirts saying arse on it and saying suck it and whatever else. So why not?
So this is going to end up news story like Al Snow that came with the quote-unquote severed head.
Yeah. Or like Steph McMahon who didn't wear the pants. Nicholas Stephanie. Can you not remember that one? They brought out TTL Stephanie McMahon in a dress, and then they had to recall it because they didn't paint any knickers underneath the dress.
Oh, nice!
It was just skin tone. So then they had to recall that and re-release it. Can you remember? Pablo remembers that. He's got them all at his house, all the recalled ones.
There's a small story about the about that Austin had at this time. I don't know if you saw, but Cardona posted that he when Rocky threw the belt off the bridge.
Yes, I actually just sent this story to one of my childhood friends. I thought that
Amazing.
was so cool. Yeah.
Well, very briefly. So, Rocky throws the belt off the bridge, but what? No, sorry, Austin throws the belt off the bridge at that point. But what he does is he shows the Intercontinental belt to the camera, and then he puts it down, and then he picks up an old WWF tag belt that they didn't need anymore, without the side plates and stuff like that. He threw that away. Someone found it and had it for years, and then sold it to Cardona, and you can see all the water damage on it and stuff like that. Stuff like that's really cool, I think.
That was so cool. I sent that to a childhood friend of mine because I have a very vivid memory of me and him watching that scene together, and we were like, where are they this week? We should go find that belt. How old was I then? 11, 12? I don't know. Like, I had any sort of resources to go deep diving for a title belt. But
it's so good. It's such a good story, isn't it? Such a cool story.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's I didn't realize it was Cardona that had bought it. I saw it all posted recently, but I didn't realize it was Cardona that had bought it. But of course it is. Of course it was. And fair enough. It's a cool piece of history. It's got an amazing lineage behind that tag team belt as well, in regards to all of the champions that have held it and whatnot. Am I right thinking that Owen, it was around the time, it was probably one of the belts that Owen Hart held as a tag champion as well, from what I understand.
Owen
Probably from his
Yoko,
Yoko and Bulldog, maybe.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Owen and Yoko, great team. Sorry.
Oh, that's the one. That's the one. But yes, anyway. So you've got me opinion on Mr. Austin there with his rotating hand that does the middle finger. It would also come in. I was thinking that he would probably come with his vest on, just because it's so significant to his kind of character at the time. The Austin down one side of it, the skull and 316 down the other side, and then the skulls on the back. So yeah, I'd probably
put removable.
I don't think. Yeah, I think it would be more. I don't think we'd be doing removable vests at the moment, purely because there's so many molded vests, and essentially this is a Razor Ramon body. So I said Macho King before. It's essentially Razor Ramon, isn't it? But with a rotating hand and a Mr. Perfect arm on the other side. So yeah, that was my fifth pick, and my final pick is it has to be done. Shawn Michaels, HBK. It's difficult to avoid it because of what we're going with at the moment, and it's a very. I mean, I've got November, lads, and I forgot that. Yeah, I know. I forgot that I didn't have SummerSlam. But I've got November, and that's been my focal point. But I mean, the screw job, like the pay-per-view is just essentially remembered for that whole storyline. It's arguably the most famous match of the 90s, whether we like the fact or not. It's up there as arguably the most memorable, famous match of the 1990s because of the situation, what happened, and the outcome of it. And as we alluded to, Bret Hart left because of this entire match, apparently, at least anyway. So the story goes. But I was originally going to sort of word it as the biggest snake, the dirtiest, sexiest man alive. Earl Hebner has made my line, but I didn't go for that. Yeah, it's difficult to not add Shawn for the gravitas of it all, and because of that, I'm going to go with the attire that he wore, which is the black tights, the like iridescent red, shimmery red kind of hearts and stuff like that. I was going to give him the Euro title.
I was going to say, yeah. Did Bulldog come with a Euro belt?
He did.
Did the Bulldog come with it? He did. Okay.
Yeah, Bulldog had the tag and the Euro and all decked out.
Yeah, he was fully decked. I'm going to give him the obvious Rick Martel HBK mechanism, the mold, because it's just perfect for him. Why would you change that? But I'm going to change I'm going to remove the glasses and give him a new head sculpt. And I want him to have the sort of tied back plait thing that he had at Survivor Series during his entrance. I'm not going to give him all of his. I was thinking about giving him like the accessory of his entrance top because I was thinking about that, but then I thought I'd have to add the chaps. And how would you do that with Hasbro? I couldn't quite work it out. So I don't think I'm going to bother. I'm just going to have it
ones that just look like he has pants on.
Yeah,
never really worked for me.
I think with Shawn, especially this particular entrance gear as well, the chap's things are a step down from the tights that he was wearing. I think his tights are far better. Like they're one of my favorite Sean tights, to be honest. I think they're really, like, at least in terms of the hearts and stuff like that. I think it's really cool. So I think if you add the chaps, it kind of covers up what's good about the attire, unfortunately. Whereas the top, it's like the red military belt stuff, isn't it, with the holes punctured in it, kind of crossover thing. I just don't know if it's worth adding that on its own. This stage, so I'm just going to go with the in-ring look, basically, rather than compared to Pillman, where I've gone with his outside look, purely because his outside look, I think, adds more
Very
to
iconic.
the character. Yeah. Whereas with Sean, I think his in-ring gear it's good. It's more than good enough and iconic enough to not need the entrance gear, if you like. So yeah, that's where I am, lads. That's where I am with my choices. So the only one that we've crossed over so far is Brian Pillman, and we can obviously decide on things about that later on as the show goes on, because it's I thought we'd have more crossovers so far after 2, like last time, where there's a lot of crossovers by this point. Oh, we'll see how it goes. Have you gone for Brian Christopher and Kurgan as well?
Scott Putski, actually. Yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute. But without further ado, let's pass it over to our wonderful sponsors.
J&J Figures offers a huge array of collectible wrestling action figures and merchandise, including highly limited and exclusive releases. You can order their products at www.jjfigures.com. Or you can catch their stall at wrestling conventions and events across the USA. Their products are solely intended for your collecting pleasure.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsors. And now I'm going to pass it over to our American co-host, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So, man, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that the 6, and I don't want this to go to his head. I think that the 6 that Mark just said are probably pretty close to what would have happened in real life. But
yeah,
let's throw a wrench in that plan.
This isn't real life, is it?
This isn't real life.
It's just
fun. So
it's not real life to me, damn it. Sorry.
So I had August and October. So
yes, you did.
Me, I had it. So
not you, Brett.
Mark tried to kick my leg out of my leg. So for mine, August and October, when I was going through and kind of reviewing what happened in those months, I had a pretty good idea that I was going to pick this person anyways. When I saw, didn't realize it was this date. When I saw that Brian Pillman passed in October, I that solidified that pick for me. So all the way across the board, Brian Pillman, I think, getting in on this one. So I picked, excuse me, the SummerSlam gear that he had, which is pretty much his, I think it's like the only wrestling gear he wore in WWF. Hopefully this is the accessory that Mark would have chosen. I chose a mannequin accessory with the dress on. Absolute like waste of money on tooling, but I think that would have been pretty funny. I think since we never got a Marlena, my amazing imagination as a child would have used this mannequin as Marlena in my Fig Fed. So, yes, sir.
So I wasn't exactly what I was going to potentially add. I was going to give him the gold dress though, so it could just be like the dress accessory. Yeah. So we're on the kind of same web page. But would the mannequin, would it be like a painted on dress, or would it be like a mannequin with an actual dress you can use on like a piece of fabric as well?
Yeah, no, it would be molded on. So like a sorry. sorry to tell you, but that's the way that would have
No dress matches in the Fig Feds, guys.
I mean, you got to use your imagination, you know. Sorry. Martel mold is what I went with as well for that one. So I kept him in wrestling gear. I didn't do a molded on vest. Maybe that's part of the argument later on. So that's that one, first one, Brian Pillman. 1997 August. Yes. So this is the one that my gear is a little loose on here. So he won the WWF title at SummerSlam. So Bret Hitman Hart. Same reasons that you said, Mark. For those listening at home, custom Bret that I made a while ago. This is in the Survivor Series gear. I'd be okay with that. It's a slightly different mold. I scanned the figure and I modified things here. So the arms are more of like his posing arms. And the glasses are actually the way that we're wearing them on his forehead. So you can see his eyes, but the glasses are up on the forehead. So it's very similar. The torso and the legs are exactly the same. He comes with the WWF title. So that's that one. And then going to October, in this one, I'm pretty psyched on. I know that we've booked him in our line before, but it's going to be with the Intercontinental title, another Owen Hart. But it's going to be a different mold, and it's going to reuse a new mold that has been introduced in our universe. And it's going to be that Jerry Lawler mold, which is going to have a slightly different torso because it's going to have the accurate singlet, but it's going to have the legs because, as you alluded to with the pile driver neck break stuff, this Owen can do a pile driver. So for those of you who maybe didn't listen, go back and listen. We had Jerry Lawler in the last one that had like a new body, had like a super punch thing, but also had like the Bam Bam legs. So I think in Hasbro tradition, we made a new body. We're going to use the hell out of it. So Owen's coming with that new body. He's got the shorter hair in this one. The last Owen that we did had the longer hair, so he's got the shorter hair. I grabbed my Bendham Owen Hart. It's probably going to look similar to this attire. So that's that one. And I don't know if you're noticing a theme with my set here, but next is Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And I'm holding up another custom I did. So this is a newer body, but it's the Gorilla Press mold. So I believe that would be a good idea. He's got a thicker singlet torso, thicker legs, and then the Gorilla Press arms. I'd be okay with doing the same head, just obviously repainted, that he had. The head on the custom is similar to that anyways. It's just a little bit more enhanced. So that's my first four. And then to break the theme that I have going on, and these are two figures that I went back and forth on. But I chose somebody who has been omitted thus far, the Godwins. Now I'm holding up the Grappler and Gimmicks, the first release Godwins. They would be more like the newer ones that he did without the shirts, because they had some good stuff going with LOD during this time period, and they were like full heel Godwins at this point, and were shirtless underneath the overalls, I think pretty much all the time at this point. So on single cards, the bodies are similar to like Bushwhackers, essentially, with new exterior molding on it, but similar actions. I think that works for them. And yeah, so I think that's that. That's it. Pretty quick rundown. Henry would come with a slop bucket still. And I do think in Hasbro form, even though it's not totally accurate to here, I'm going to say they're going to come with 2 removable baseball hats that really don't fit too well, just like the Bushwhackers did. So, yeah.
Cool.
So, there you go.
Awesome.
But I do think that they're needed, I believe, but there are some very strong other options other than the Godwins.
It's so tricky.
There.
It's really tricky this month.
It is really, really tricky. So that's my 6. Super, super fast, because honestly, a lot of them are repeated picks. So
we've had a lovely few suggestions this month, as per usual, for who we should also add from the listeners' point of view. We run this competition every month where somebody is picked by our good selves from all the suggestions that we receive as to who they think could also make it in the line in the 6-month period that we're working at. And after a bit of deliberation back and forth, we finally agreed on putting forward the Patriot. Indeed. And it's a wonderful suggestion here by none other than avid listener, Shooty. Dave Shooty son. Shooty. Dave Shooty. Dave suggested that the Patriot comes, I think, like in a macho king kind of mold, using the typical red, white. In fact, I'll stop nattering on about exactly his design. Look at the image on the screen now. That's exactly how Dave was mentioning it. And to be honest with you, I think it's a fantastic design, and I always love it when...
It is.
I love all the suggestions that we get. I really do. I love it when so many people get involved and have a bit of fun with their suggestions. But there's something added to it when somebody goes out that kind of designed their character in this kind of way as well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Stands out a bit, doesn't it? Even though that character never gets mentioned in our picks, it's a lovely sort of addition to what we're doing.
And honestly, I'm so surprised that the Patriot didn't make it through on any of ours. I think
it can only exist really on this episode. As well.
Yeah.
I know, and it's difficult though, given that we've just said the gravitas. If the Patriot was in sort of like, let's be honest, if the Patriot was in like late '95, there's a good chance he'd have made it in to one of our suggestions.
For sure.
No doubt. It's just that he's up against a lot of big hitters, like Putski and Kurgan. You know, it's he's up there, but I really appreciate. Thanks for getting in touch, Dave. We'll be in touch soon with your good self. Be in touch with your good self regarding the prize that will be on its way to you from one of our sponsors. So thank you very much. On that note, I'm going to pass it over to our illustrious host, Mr. Pablo, who will run through the choices more specifically where we've all agreed, and then we're going to get into the nitty gritty of what's left and who we need to discuss and debate about. Over to you, Pabs.
Wonderful. Okay, so I had September and December of 1997. I picked Scott Putski, which I don't know if anyone covered that or not, but I did also pick Brian Pillman, who is going through. Now we've got to decide on whether it's going to be ring gear or if it's going to be interview gear. I would say ring gear only because it's the only time we're going to get him now. But we can get into that. Neidhart was picked by 2 of us. So does he get through on 2?
He does, yeah. Unless I've got an appeal, which I don't.
Wonderful. And Joe, I really liked your idea for Neidhart. That easily trumps my idea for part choices and stuff like that. So
here it is again.
Yeah.
Very, very
for
good.
our listeners, it's the Sid Gorilla Slam-esque kind of mold there for our listeners who aren't watching on video. Slightly bulkier, obviously bulkier body and whatnot for Jim. But I agree fully. I think that's a really good option to go with. I do like I think the original. What I will say is the original Jim Neidhart head captures the likeness well in general, but I always felt it was a little bit of a pea head in comparison to Jim's true. I would maybe bulk the head up a little bit, but keep the same expression and things like that would work.
The size, yeah,
yeah,
be sized up for sure.
Well, also his torso and everything, like the Owen and Brett original Hasbro's are much bigger in girth than the Neidhart figure, which is like crazy. Really, the Neidhart is actually
he was kind of small all the way around, actually. Yeah,
yeah, he really was. So anyway, so in the December we have Jeff Jarrett in his comeback gear in the white, orange, and blue singlet. We have Brian Christopher in his orange gear from In Your House DX, and we have Kurgan in his black trunks, black boots, etc. So Mark had July. That's July 1997, and November. And
not to be confused with not to be confused with August 1997. Just want to get that out there for people. I had July and November.
July.
Okay.
No context behind that whatsoever. We have Pillman, and again, we'll fully decide on which Pillman we're going to have at the end of this. Brett, who makes perfect sense, really, and it's crazy that he hasn't had one in any shows yet. Get through. Kane in debut look, which he would have for at least a year. Ken Shamrock.
Not that we know that.
Oh no, well that's true. Shamrock in his red duds. Austin in his black, his signature gear, and Shawn Michaels in his Montreal gear, the black and red. And then Joe, obviously Pillman, gets through. Brett gets through, and we'll decide on which Brett, even though both quite similar. Owen Hart. I'm thinking you go with like flat top Owen Hart, when he had the real shaved square head.
I'm actually okay with whichever one, because he did have, I think in maybe I'm wrong now, but I believe in August he still had kind of the slick back stuff, but I think in November he didn't.
He had.
All right. Flat top,
I'm going to be a nerd. He got it cut for Canadian Stampede.
Yeah, you're right. I'm fine with that. That's okay.
So you've got Owen. We've got Neidhart, who got through, and you have both Henry and Phineas Godwin. So let's start making some decisions. So Brett is through. We're deciding on gear now. We had a choice between Canadian Stampede and Survivor Series.
I did.
You didn't say attire. SummerSlam, but you didn't say. Yeah. Well, they're both black attires and both very similar, and he rarely wore the pink top by this point. So I'm easy for. So I think since we've got Sean, I would go with the Montreal.
We haven't got Sean yet.
Oh no, we don't. Well, I would still go with the Montreal. Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Pick.
Yeah,
I'm okay. I'm good with that. I think that makes sense to me, and I also really like Joe's idea of the hands doing the kind of open palm, like the pose that he does in the ring. And I really like the idea of the glasses being molded onto his head as well, so you can see his eyes and his face. Typically, probably with his mouth open a bit, when he's doing that whole.
This was like the one I did was pretty much the Hasbro head from nose down, but I like that better. I think the mouth open.
And especially dare I say as well, with it being linked to the Montreal Screwjob, he was shouting and being angry.
Oh yeah.
So maybe it comes with an accessory bit of spit or something like that. I don't know.
Or an action that can do the WCW somehow.
Yeah. It comes with an additional black eye to stick on your favorite commentator. No, I'm happy with Joe's suggestions in terms of how it looks. I think that it sounds good. I think that the Montreal Survivor Series attire makes the most sense for this too. So I'm if you guys are good with that, I think we've locked Brett in there.
Okay, great. And Mark, did you say that your Brett was going to come with a belt?
Yeah, July. Going to come with. was gonna.
Yeah, I
was
think we
gonna.
both agreed with that because
July '97 didn't he wasn't champion, so
no, he wasn't. But
November.
I had July,
November.
Yeah, he was still by November, and you had August, didn't you, Joe?
Yeah, he won the title at SummerSlam, so I had him with the title for that. So
cool. We've got Brett and Neidhart is definite, and we've all agreed. And Pillman, it's whether we go with ring attire or interview attire. I would have to go with ring attire, because I think we're not. Well, we don't know this, but we do
because we're looking back from the end of November, aren't we? We're looking back realistic. We're actually at this stage. We're looking back from the end of December. If we're all kind of in it together, we know what's happened.
At this stage we are.
We're aware. We can theoretically, the way I view this is when we're doing this chatter here, we're all in the know because we've all got those 6 months, if that makes any sense. So we can see what's happened in those 6 months in general. Yeah. So we know what's happened with Pillman. Part of me wants to make his look a bit more iconic, knowing that this will be his last figure, in a kind of way as well. Like so whilst I completely appreciate having the in-ring one, I think, generally speaking, part of me gets a pop out of the idea of making him really iconic and giving them the shirt as a molded-on shirt underneath the molded.
So here's a question: is that an iconic look at that time, in that moment? Now, it's hard to answer that because I think with the glasses of nostalgia on here, we all agree that it's a very iconic look.
Yeah.
Did we think that at that time, though?
I don't know what you guys think in regards to, like with Pillman, I always his time in WWF is one of those kind of weird moments where I see him more as, dare I say, like an addition to the Hart Foundation, where he stood with them a lot, but he wasn't as in-ring. He didn't wrestle as much for me in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like I agree. I picture him more as like he stood with the foundation and he's part of the crack, so he tends to be more in non-ring gear. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Like his timeline there, it feels a bit more like, I don't want to say like a manager or a valet, but you catch my drift. He's like he's more kind of linked to the at least in my memory, to being more at ringside and involved in scuffles rather than actual in-ring matches. Whilst I appreciate he definitely did have the matches. Tricky, isn't it? It's a really tricky one. And I'll be honest, I think part of my head, I agree with you, the rose-tinted glasses and the nostalgia glasses is also linked to that period of time that he had an ECW for me, which shouldn't bear any fact whatsoever. Yeah. But it's tricky not to, because he wore the same kind of gear and he had that look in ECW too. So it's a tricky one. I think Pablo's going one way, I'm going the other way. I think we're going to leave it up to your heavy shoulders to decide, Joe. And whatever you decide, we're cool.
Wonderful,
we're cool with.
Because here's the thing: if we go with the T-shirt look, then my accessory doesn't make sense, and I want that mannequin with the dress. So let's go with ring attire, and do the mannequin with the dress accessory.
Right. I'm going to caveat that then.
Okay.
And say,
it's almost like you knew he was going to say that, right? Okay.
Right. The mannequin with the dress is fine, but you said molded on, so it wouldn't have made any difference to whether or not it made sense or not, because you wouldn't have been able to take it off the mannequin if it was molded on. Does that make sense? So, like you said there, you would put him as shirtless and in ring with, I'm assuming, because you'd put the dress on him. But if it's molded on the mannequin, you would have been able to do that anyway.
No, I'm just saying because it's based off that match, and that mannequin is at ringside.
I'm going to then lobby with the help of Paul. Hopefully, I'll accept that fate as long as the mannequin. I'm fine with that being included, but the dress is removable so he can wear it.
I agree with that.
Fabric accessory dress, much like Undertaker's coat was an it doesn't have to be anything pretty and luxurious because it's just a gold bit of cloth, and that adds to the sort of silliness of him wearing it, because he looked like a bag of spanners when he was wearing it, didn't he? So that's the That's where I would go. I'm all right with ring attire then.
I concede to that.
Right. Okay.
Dress matches her.
So that's that's Pillman locked in ring attire, but with the mannequin accessory and removable dress. What the fuck?
Joe's family will be thrilled that is after he died the one figure that gets released.
Oh God, sorry, Melon. Yeah.
Anyway, so we have 3 more to go. Is the thing. So I think we just go down the names and just say yes or no, yeah or nay.
Yep.
So Scott Putski, I can live without him.
I was going to say how much a fight you're going to put up, but it's a shame because I love the concept. It's just a tricky 6-month period to try and start and adding that kind of name.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say is I think we might have better, dare I say, better opportunities for random carded people next early 1998 because we're not going to want to double up on all the main eventers the following series straight away. So it opens up a lot, and we've got more options in 1998 too. So putting that out there.
Okay, so no Scott Putski. We've got Pillman and Neidhart. Jarrett in his white singlet. I'm gonna have him as one of mine, and it's up to you two now.
I think we should still go through the other names because he's in this attire. He's one of those ones that's like I can buy into it potentially. I think we just have to hear the arguments for. Do you know what I mean? The other remaining 3 spots. But I think Jarrett's
I will say
in the playing field. I think he's in the playing field.
Yeah, I will say I would love that figure, and I want to make one of those figures. And I've tried to use my connections in the retro world to make that figure happen, and it has not worked yet. However, I don't see him getting through with some of the other names this time.
It is quite early to be bringing in that Jarrett, maybe. Yeah.
But I love it at the same time, so
it needs to happen at some point. It's one of those, isn't it? It's all about when. It's the timing. Right now, it's the timing.
Okay, I'm quite happy. Okay, I'll sacrifice Jarrett, but I will not sacrifice Kurgan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting. You've gone that way around. Okay,
I'm standing by Kurgan. I just think for Toyetic, he just looks like a mad bastard. I'm just a fan of Kurgan.
Okay.
And I just think like a good cartoony, villainy, kind of guy when there's not a whole lot of that in late '97. I just think he would be good to have.
I'm cool with it. I'm cool with him being in the mixer. Like I'm not going to automatically say nah because I get it. I already get what you're saying. I think there's a he's in the mix for me as much as Jarrett was. Put it that way. Now that you've argued the point and I've thought about him, and I'm like, actually, you know what? Fair point. I think he's in the playing field. One of your other choice that you didn't mention there was Brian Christopher, and without trying to look into the future, that's all I'll say. If you know what I mean. Like
I think when you haven't got any other. Now that Scott Putski's out of it, now that there's no other light heavyweight, I think that probably eliminates Brian Christopher by just process of elimination.
For now, though, like I think for now, again, not trying to do the whole looking in the future thing, but if we're going to be realistic, we're at the end of 1997 here. We know what we've got in our hands in terms of divisions and things like that, so we know where we can realistically go without naming names. Without having to be obvious.
You don't even have to look into the future, though, because if you look at the other options that we have, is Brian Christopher going to beat out those guys? Because
at this moment in time, you're right.
At this moment in time, he has as much of a chance as Scott Putski, if you think about it. Right?
Yeah, I think just in the sense of this particular 6 months. It's a big hitter. It's just one of those. It's just one of those, isn't it? It's tricky to say you passed it. But what I do like about that again is that it really opens the gates a lot more for early '98. Like because
yeah,
The way we've done things so far, we're not looking at the future here. We just know that the way we've done things to date is that we're going to avoid. Anyway, right? We'll fly on.
Well, I don't see how you can go against Kane. To be honest, talk about a big hitter that you need to get out immediately. I think Kane is a given. From Mark's picks.
What do you think, Joe?
From that?
I don't want to, but I can't argue against it.
You could see a thought with a particular card that you might want to hold up.
Yeah, I can for sure, but all right. So here's I guess I'll step back from Kane for a second.
Yep.
So I don't think we mentioned the card color yet, right? So we were gonna do like a Art Foundation pink, essentially, which we all, kind of knew which way some of these picks were gonna go. Yeah. Now we have Brett, Pillman, Neidhart.
Didn't Shamrock get 2 from you guys as well?
He only got one.
He only got one. But that's all right.
But I'm glad that you said that. I love my own Hart pick. I don't know if I'm going to use a card for it or not. It's on my mind, though. I'm going to say that. I love reusing this new mold that we created last episode to give him that pile driver. So imagine this. Brett, Tillman, Neidhart, Owen. And then the remaining 2, Shamrock, who battled them at Canadian Stampede. And I'm actually going to go off and go with Shooty and do Patriot. And then you've got this kind of themed USA versus Canada 6 series, not 6-pack, but 6 figures here.
This is so mental. Because to me,
I didn't ask you, Siri.
6 figures. Check it
out. Right. Argument time, I think. So, completely here, it's a completely logical argument you've got there. My reservations are that I think that the one that we added in Series 13, was it? The turquoise thing? Is good enough to be in the Hart Foundation as it stands without needing to necessarily change him up, because he fits in, look wise, it still kind of works, even though it's not necessarily directly linked to this
hide my emotions
moment. But also, I think if you're going to go to the trouble of doing the pile driver thing, you can't not add Austin, or else it's kind of irrelevant at the same time.
No Patriot is wild, though. Come to think of it now,
it's crazy.
Main event at pay-per-views and stuff.
It's crazy given who we've got to pick from right now. Like Patriots, to be honest, for me, whilst I agree that it's crazy that he's not involved, I don't think it's any crazy that he's not involved compared to the likes of Jeff Jarrett. I think it's just like he would admit, even if he was in our choices right now, I think he'd miss out given the caliber.
Yeah.
If you like, of what the heavy hitters who just happen to be there at this 6-month period, who are gasping for a bit of product. Like WWF would be like, right, we've got all these main event or really high end upper mid carders all of a sudden, and they're all just popping off at the same time. That's what's mental. They're all popping off at this mid, and given the impact of the Montreal screw job, I can't see past why we wouldn't be adding Sean.
So here's a question.
Has Sean, very quickly, sorry, has Sean made it yet? He hasn't. We haven't. Sean hasn't had
we haven't even.
He hasn't had a figure since series 11, so we haven't suggested Sean yet.
Ironically enough, I suggested him last episode, but he didn't make it through.
Yeah.
So,
same with me and Brett. It was that tricky. It was a weird one, wasn't
it? Yeah, that is funny, huh? So, what about this? So again, Pillman, Brett, Neidhart. I'll let my Owen stay on the side. Shamrock, who was also suggested last episode, and we kind of said, like, you know, not quite yet. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Shamrock, Patriot, and then Shawn Michaels. And you've got 3 versus 3. And you've got that. So the reason why I'm not saying Austin is because we had Austin a couple series ago. King of the Ring era, I believe it was.
It's a very different Austin, but I hear you.
Is it a very different Austin look-wise?
I think in terms of magnitude of who it is, like at that time that we had the King of the Ring one, it was kind of like he wasn't. He was still arguably main event. Still arguably mid card. He just had something about him. Whereas now,
I agree. Yeah.
He's arguably main event. He's just won the IC title, but at the same time, without trying to see the future, it's so fucking difficult when you're doing that whole thing of not trying to see the future. I think that he's either a definite now or has to be a definite in the next one, as daft as that sounds, because you're capturing the absolute fucking peak.
I don't disagree.
Bear in mind though, Austin's not world champion yet. You know.
No, I know. And we don't know what's going to happen, but
who knows?
Right, I'll tell you what it is.
It might get released next month. Who knows?
I'm happy to sort of postpone Austin then.
I just think
see
what
we all think. Yep.
As Owen Hart.
Yeah, like, I think that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, you know,
I think that's fair. I think personally, I can't help but agree with you about HBK for obvious reasons. I think it's too much of an iconic situation not to tap into it. I think people. I think they're going to try and want to push as much merch as they possibly can in November, given how fucking insane that pay-per-view was and the outcome was. And I think they're going to try and just cash in as much as they possibly can. Why wouldn't they? You know, it would be silly for them not to, really, especially if we're bringing out a Brett, which we've agreed on. So
although Vince is probably going to call Hasbro tomorrow and say, "Don't you dare release any Hart Founders." I'm pissed off. So, you know,
tough titties. I don't know. I think he'd see through it. I think he'd be more the other way. I think he'd say don't, and then he'd say, "Fuck you, WCW. We've still got the license to release the figure of him. We're going to cash in." That way around.
Warzone didn't come out until August '98, and Brett, Bulldog, and Ahmed Johnson are on it, and they were gone for a long time by that point.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'll tell you what. Before we go into the arguments about the other guys, where are we on HBK then, just to sort of nail it down, because I'm aware of the time as well. And Joe, you said you're up for HBK there. I naturally am. Are you up for HBK? Pablo?
Since he hasn't had one in so long, yes, he's needed. Yeah.
Cool. Are we all right? Are we any objections to the style that I said, which is essentially the Martel singles thing? The obvious. It's basically the obvious in-ring, going down the in-ring route. In-ring HBK from Survivor Series.
My only thought is, I agree with all of that, being in-ring with the ponytail, all that.
Yeah.
Similar to my thought from last episode, what if we did the HBK Martel upper body with like a Jake lower body, because it's got the wider stance?
Okay.
Do like a super kick type of thing.
Yeah. The Jake stroke Virgil, whatever you want to call it as, you know.
Yeah.
But probably make
specifically like the Jake, Tito Santana.
Yeah.
They're thinner legs too. You know, I think it works out for him.
I'm good with that. Okay. Right. Final two then, lads. I hear what you're saying about Patriot, but does he beat names on the thing that we're like? Does he beat Kane? Does he beat Jeff Jarrett? Does he beat like?
Don't think he beats Kane, but I think he beats Jeff Jarrett.
You think Patriot beats Jeff Jarrett?
He had a strong July to October.
By the way, I'm not saying should. I don't think he should. It's more a case of are we where we all thinking in terms of the pecking order?
I'm actually genuinely shocked that I forgot to put Patriot in.
Okay.
To be honest, someone who was main event in pay-per-views was in the. You know, I know that Brett whatever Brett was in was considered almost like the B feud compared to what Shawn Michaels was in because of politics and stuff like that. But it's still for the world title. It's on pay-per-views. We've got Vader to go with Patriot, etc. He was going to be at Survivor Series, but was gone by that point. But yeah, I would absolutely put a Patriot in, and I think just again for
bloody hell, Shooty.
I know for the kids.
Shooty, fair play to him. He's managed to convince us out of our own picks.
Yeah, he really has.
Cool, huh? I like it.
Well, and I'll tell you what. Is there any? Are you happy enough with Shooty's suggestion for Patriot then in terms of the
with an American flag? He's got the American flag, hasn't he? The Duggan flag.
To be fair,
so yeah,
that's what Shooty suggested as well. The accessory's got the American flag.
Yeah,
I liked it all the way around. Yeah,
sweet. Really well done, Shooty. That leaves one spot, lads. And I'm not going to lie. Out of what's left, I'm opting for Kane over Shamrock. Like,
really,
I'd really like Shamrock, but I think you've got it. I just think Kane's got more of an impact right now in terms of his just overall style and intrigue.
Yeah.
So my thought is that Shamrock is starting to border on overdue. Not by a ton, but the fact that he was recommended last episode and was a pretty
is that just because arguably we were really, really keen on him, but he's still at that point where he's. I mean, obviously he was one of my picks, so I'm very keen on the idea of Shamrock. I just think he's unlucky. See, I would have had Shamrock over Patriot, but you two guys went for Patriot there. Personally, I'd have said it was. If I'm going to become, and of course I'm going to try and opt for my own guys, but I think that if it wasn't for Patriot, I thought it probably would have been Shamrock and Kane in the last two. But I appreciate that's me picking my own guys there. So Patriot getting through, I'm kind of fine with that because you two guys are going for him. But it surprises me that he's trumped those two to the final two spots. If I'm completely honest. I think out of the two that's left, I think Kane just trumps Shamrock for the same kind of just the impact. I don't know. I'd love a Shamrock figure. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I just think because of the impact that Kane's just had in this, he's just debuted, and all of a sudden, and he's on top.
Yeah.
Feud with Undertaker straight away.
And
it's that kind of difficult to see past it.
I stand by as well that I think since they had time to develop the Kane character without ever seeing him, I just think they would have him ready to go. I mean, if they were using common sense, they would have him ready to go for that. Because it's I don't think it ever happened really before, except one or two people, maybe Nails or something like that, where you didn't actually see them before they showed up on TV, but they had vignettes. Yeah. And I know Kane didn't have vignettes as such, but he had Paul Bearer talking about them enough. And the
storyline went on for months and months and months before he debuted, but also at a main event level as well. It's not like, no offense to him, but like Wail on Mercy, Vignett's saying, now what I mean? It's not like that. It's happening for a couple of weeks building up. It's essentially 5-6 months or whatever it is of top end feuding with Undertaker. He's coming, my Kane is coming, and all this shit. So that's kind of why I think the build-up behind the scenes, but also that initial impact he had where he just turned up, ripped the cage door off, and his allure at that moment in time. It's arguably, like, without him being a main eventer, he is the main eventer. He's like arguably he's the Andre. He's the main event attraction without him being necessarily in the main event picture. Yeah. Like he's the Andre, if that makes sense. Like he doesn't need the belt, blah blah blah. He is the enigma that is.
Yeah.
Supersedes arguably the few,
Definitely one of my favorite debuts of all time. Like you can't. It lived up to the hype is the thing, and that's hard to do. It was just incredible. Like I still don't think that Hell in a Cell match was ever beaten by any other Hell in a Cell match.
And for me, to be honest with you, no, we can't look in the future about Kane or Shamrock, so I won't do that because it's not really fair. But I'm
really like biting my tongue in doing that myself right now.
It's so hard. It's so difficult.
It's very difficult.
Well, I think in that I would go with Kane over Shamrock.
So
I think he's a very toyetic figure as well. I think they'd rush to get him out. Don't get me wrong, Shamrock very much deserves a figure, but looking at it now, I honestly think they would have planned for Kane to be more short term than he was, because it was only to build up that one match against the Undertaker. It just happened to go obviously much longer than that. Whereas Shamrock, they always talked about him being champion leading into the next millennium and stuff like that.
If you believe Charles Wright, Godfather Papa Shango, he was touted to be Kane. They were going to bring him back in to be Kane. He mentioned, and they put it all out there to him, said, "We want you to be Kane. You're going to be the Undertaker's long lost brother," kind of thing. But he was going to look like a newer version of Papa Shango.
Yeah.
And then they didn't go down that route. It was going to be like a new, like Shango version 2, but called Kane and is the Undertaker's brother. And then they obviously went with Jacobs. I mean,
and if you look at Jacobs' track record, you'd imagine he wouldn't stick around too long.
Imagine they didn't go with Brian Lee. Anyway, no, there's good reasons why they didn't go with Brian Lee, actually.
And I didn't get my fake Diesel choice. Okay.
Okay, well that's
so hard.
I mean, I know
there's that overall view of the whole 6, and if you have Shamrock in there, it like encapsulates like the big Heart Foundation storyline.
It does
a lot better than if you had Kane in there. But it's so hard to argue against those points for Kane.
Yeah, I think as well, we haven't really gone with any storyline kind of reasons to make a set so far.
No, I know, but it's just like kind of perfectly coming together.
Sid Sabu, Legion of Doom.
Farouk. I know.
Kane does stand out though, because like some people were either gone from the company by the time he made his debut, some people were dead by the time he made his debut. So it is kind of like a line in the sand that like Kane, he doesn't fit in this set in that way, and I totally get it. I just can't see them not wanting to get a Kane out as quickly as possible.
I think that's it.
I think Shamrock would be a better fit. I have to go with Kane based on the debut.
I think Shamrock would be a better fit than Patriot. Like, it's a weird thing. Like, but that's just, again though, that's from my memory of what I was seeing at the time and who stood out more at the time for me as somebody who
So
I mean, Anvil's scraped, let's be honest, Anvil's scraped through. Anvil's in this because of his association with the Heart Foundation. It's not because of Anvil. You know what I mean? It's like
I agree.
So and as well though, I still think he could have feasibly been Series 1, Series 2, or like the early tag sets and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so I think he's a long overdue figure in that sense.
For sure. Yeah. All right, so let's
do we have our 6? You go on, Joe. You go for it.
I was gonna ask you guys, so Brett, Pillman, Anvil,
HBK,
Ron, sorry, Patriot, and Pablo. Who do you have for your 6th?
It's got to be Kane.
It's gotta be Kane.
He looked lovely on that pink box.
Oh man, I think I'm gonna do it.
Dun dun dun.
I think I'm gonna veto.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna veto it, and I'm not even for one of my picks, which is insane.
It's incredible, and you don't even have a veto card because you didn't print them off.
No, I don't. Yeah.
Oh god!
You can borrow mine. Do you want it?
Yeah.
I'll pass it over to you, Joe. There you go.
Yeah. I'm gonna do it. I can't believe I'm gonna do it, but veto. I'm gonna veto it.
You wild boy.
This is gonna look so good. Shamrock is the 6th.
Kane. Fuck. Okay.
Sorry, Kane.
Wow.
Can they veto the veto if there's a veto card present?
Nah. Well, theoretically, I don't think we've ever crossed that.
But
I might veto your veto.
Is that the first veto?
That's the first veto.
I've
used the person character. Yeah.
I tried to use a special character, but it didn't get through, so I kept my card.
No, you got to keep it. Yeah, you got to keep it.
And Pablo, you haven't used any, huh?
I have not used the card yet. I'm very agreeable.
I can't believe I used the veto.
He's gonna use all of his cards in the last episode.
Against myself.
Yeah.
Against yourself, yeah. Gonna veto his own special.
Man, I used a veto card for not even one of my guys. That's insane.
It is. I'm not gonna lie. Especially considering it was the wrong decision.
Got his pick through, and none of us even picked him. So what the hell just happened?
I mean, and they were all. You're the one who brought that up. You're the one who brought up Patriot, and then went with him and vetoed my suggestion to put Shamrock. Hey! I to be fair, I got another one of my guys through without even needing to play a card, so I don't mind.
Yeah.
I love Shamrock, but
listen,
I would have legitimately gone for Kane.
Hopefully, Glenn Jacobs can stick around for another couple months at least, and we can get him in later on.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Wow,
indeed. So we're going for Shamrock in his early debut attire. He doesn't even have his name on his trunks. And we're using him instead of Kane in his massive debut through Hellfire. And
so instead of Kane, we're doing a guy with a pretty average haircut and plain red trunks.
Yeah.
Didn't Shamrock lose it? Didn't Shamrock lose it? SummerSlam as well.
DQ, yeah, he got beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Class.
So.
Well, at least we're going with the big boys.
Shamrock should come with kind of dog food.
He should, yeah.
Yeah.
Feed it Davey.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, no. To be fair, Shamrock is I think he's a solid pick. It's not like we're picking.
He needs to be there. Yeah.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
It's just that somebody decided to put the Patriot in there for some reason. but I think as I said before, Shamrock man, like it's a Survivor Series man. He was the sole survivor. I'll be honest with you now. Tidbit. When I put Shamrock down, I'd actually put Rocky Maivia down first because I was going to go with the Rock because he was just becoming the new leader of the nation and he was getting some swagger about him. And I thought, I'll watch. I'll just remind myself of his match at Survivor Series and see how he did. And then when I was watching it, Shamrock, and I'm like, it's got to be Shamrock. I can't. Shamrock has to at this moment. Yeah, at this moment, Shamrock has to outweigh Rocky. And I was thinking Rocky because we've just gone with Farouk and all that, I was kind of like building.
I thought about doing Nation Ahmed, but
interesting.
Yeah, such a short lived.
we already had an Ahmed out 2 series ago as well.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Right. Well,
oh man.
On that note, then we've got Brian Pillman, Bret Hart, Jim Anvil Neidhart, HBK with the Euro title, and I should have said that Bret came with the world title as well. Got the Patriot with his flag, and we've got Kenny Shamrock. What a series, lads. What a series. That is your series 18. And is it pink and black card? Is that
I mean, it's just a pink card.
Like a lighter shade than the one that we went for previously, basically. Much lighter. Softer toned pink compared to our pinky purple one that we had in the past. Yeah. Wow. Well, that was great. Perfect. Well, amazing stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Well, before we sign off for this mega fun episode,
seriously,
let's pimp our stuff. So you can find me at Turntruckle on Instagram, where I'll post lots of old bits of wrestling memorabilia and stuff like that. Old podcast episodes will be making their way to the internet soon, I promise. And there's interviews with everyone A to Z. Ahmed Johnson to Zeus, basically. Without Zeus, I didn't interview Zeus. But also, if you, a very a niche thing, but if you're a fan of the band Jellyfish, then you need to check out a lot of the posts that I'm doing at the moment, because we're putting on a big event endorsed by the band, etc. So again, not a lot of people know Jellyfish, so I'm just potentially spitting that out into the wind. But you can find me on Instagram as Turntruckle. Mark Fox, where can we find you?
Few different places. I'm haunting and lurking and annoying people as much as I can in a few different handles. Grapple Arcade on Instagram. In fact, they're all on Instagram pretty much. But Grapple Arcade, you'll find out more about my weird wrestling merchandise obsessions and nonsensical bullshit relating to wrestling. My Fandom. You can also find out about the magazine and everything that we're doing with our live events at Inside the Ropes on Instagram. You can find out more about our new promotion, National Wrestling League, on there as well, in which you will find out a lot of information about what we're doing there. It's going to be really fun, man, where we merge the rules of football and soccer, such
I think
as
I'm moving to
league
England
tables
just
and
so I
points.
can go to all these
It's
shows.
going to be so good, man. We've just signed. We've got Kurt Angle announced. We've just announced Godfather recently as well, who's going to be taking part.
Yeah, Mark. Jet from Gladiators. Thank you very much.
I want to get there, man. I want to get there.
Got
D'Lo Brown, Jet from Gladiators for our UK viewers and listeners. Jet's a mega star over here. She was in the original Gladiators in the early mid '90s, but she's let's just say she was a poster pin-up for a lot of teenagers and everyone at the time, and still loved and adored by many. So she's also going to be a guest on our live events. And also, Micro Titans Wrestling, our video game that we're bringing out later on this year as well, is moving forward, lovely and jubbliness. And you can, if you go onto Steam, you can download the demo as well right now. There's going to be a few tweaks to it and things, but you can download the demo to have a little bit of a blast and see what you think of it. If you like card game-based things like Balatro, it's I'm sure you'll be a fan of this. But yeah, over to yourself, Joe.
Yeah, JPD Customs on Instagram, and follow this podcast at FigurePod on Instagram, and go check out our sponsors, J&J, Rock and Roll, and purchase some cheap plug AWK figures that yours truly has sculpted. We got some good ones up for pre-order right now, and some really fun ones coming down the line as well. So. Yeah.
And a big thank you to Chris as well, who's joined us properly as a new addition, if you like. Chris has done all the amazing hard work and editing behind the scenes for this show so far. And after his dipping his toe in the water last episode, where Pablo was otherwise engaged, he's decided to become a full-time member of the visual, if you like, and the audio of the show, where Chris is doing some deep dives and some research as we speak, and pulling up interesting factoids as we go along. But also, Chris, is there anything you'd like to plug,
man? Yeah, man. Actually, we're over at CCB Podcasting on Instagram. July the 11th, our 6th live event's going down in Orlando, Florida. Our main event features Big Strong Mims, our current heavyweight champion, taking on our number one contender, Baracco. Tickets are on sale now at ccbpodcasting.com. There's also sponsorship opportunities as well, and we are live streaming just about every day across all of our platforms here on YouTube, over on Twitch, as well as the Dead X. But outside of that, yeah, I didn't get to do a whole lot today because you guys nailed that, and I loved the debate at the end of it. It was great. So the easiest way you can show your support, everyone, is indeed by like, sharing, and subscribing. Spell on the screen the entire show for everybody here, for Pablo, for Fox, for Joe. We've got the Instagram and all the handles for the sponsors. Please go and follow. It's the easiest way. It doesn't cost you a penny.
Cool. Well,
love it.
Well, I think on that note, join us next time where we will be dissecting the first half of 1998. We are entering Attitude, and things are changing, folks. A whole new roster to look into, and some great opportunities for choices. And we'll be discussing what we're going to do going forward with regards to maybe adding more names or more choices, etc. And I think there's lots of opportunities.
And which of Joe's options we're going to be vetoing as well.
Yeah, I guess that's bound to happen, huh?
And we're entering into the era of the weird gimmick matches, so this is the chance to have some good play sets and
play set options.
I think we had 1, 2, 3 Kid and Razor Ramon have like a baby bottle match not too long ago. So I think weird gimmick matches have been around, but I understand what you're saying.
That is true, and I don't want to give too many spoilers, but expect a Jennifer Flowers figure to be in my choices. So on that note,
the New Jersey governor for this one after rewatching SummerSlam one.
I'm really sad. Christy Todd Whitman. Yeah.
Yep.
She's a Republican. She got booed out of the building when she came out.
She did. She did. Yeah.
Also, very, very quickly as well, we've just seen the last of Todd Pettingale on screen as well, I believe. I think that's his...
Oh, that's too bad.
Still
Yeah,
haven't gotten over
the
it.
pay-per-views. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Todd.
We're missing
Thanks,
out, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
Leave
Appreciate
the
all your
memories
efforts.
alone. Okay, well, on that note, I think that's us. Unless Joe, sorry. No, we're good.
Cool.
Okay. Well, on that note, we will see you all next time.
Bye.
See you guys.